What up, y'all? So I'm going to be talking a little bit about the DeAndre Hopkins deal. I was kind of surprised that the Cardinals released him. I figured they would at least held on to him until the preseason, trying to get a trade out of him. But since they decided not to do that, we'll talk about some trade aspect or some free agency aspects of where he might go. I know that is top 5 listings that he said of quarterbacks he'd like to play with would be the Bills, Eagles, Ravens, Chargers, and Chiefs. But realistically, given the personnel, I don't really know if I'd actually see him with the Chargers, and I don't really see him getting signed by the Eagles because the Eagles already have a pretty good wide receiver personnel. So that would leave the Chiefs, Ravens, and Bills. And those 3 I can see him signing with. And those will be the top 3 I would say he'll go with. But I'll also throw in 3 teams that I think that he could fit in with and probably kind of star with. And one of them, you might even guess when I say redemption, you could probably guess where I'm going to go with the last surprise pick for him. But the first team I think that rates the highest for him would probably be the Ravens, because Odell Beckham, he's still so injury prone that it's hard to believe that he'll last a full season, and he's not really a number 1 wide receiver anymore. Given that the Ravens appear to be trying to go all in for Lamar in his new contract, I kind of want to say that'll be his highest likelihood of areas to go. But that's kind of remained to be seen. I do think he would be a good fit with them, though, which is why I rate him number 1 with them. Number 2, even though I really hope this doesn't happen, because I kind of would like to see other teams start being able to compete against him, but it would be a good fit for him if he's willing to take a pay cut, would be the Kansas City Chiefs. Because at the moment, they really don't have a number 1 wide receiver. The person that they got really as their main receiver is Kelsey. Now, ultimately, it's all going to come down to whether or not he's willing to take a pay cut or not. If he's willing to take a pay cut, I think that's the highest likelihood I think he'll go if he's trying to get numbers and win a title. Because I think the Chiefs really are probably still the highest title chances because they just consistently win, and Andy Reid is a great coach, and Mahomes, he is a great quarterback. He could very well catch Brady as one of the all-time greats by the end of it all. And then his number 3 pick would be the Bills. Now, the Bills picked up Kincaid. They also have Diggs. So they already have some talent. But I could easily see DeAndre whip in there as a 1A or 1B alongside Diggs and Kincaid. And I believe they also have Darius Slay, if I'm not mistaken. Or not Darius Slay, Beasley, which he's a decent slot receiver. So if he went there, he'd get a lot of one-on-one matchups, kind of like with what Odell got with the Rams when he went over and got the title with the Rams before he got hurt. So I think that also could be a good fit for him. But I think really the Ravens, for me, would be the highest likelihood for him. But now for the 3 surprise teams that I think that he would be good with, but might not necessarily win with right away, which is probably why he won't go there, would be number 1, which I do think he will win because they've taken a lot of steps this year and I like what they did, is the Chicago Bears. because they also, like the Ravens, seem to be trying to start going all in for their quarterback, Justin Fields. And I think a DJ Moore, DeAndre Hopkins 1-2 punch, I think that would actually be a pretty good wide receiving core to work with. I really do think that would not be a bad landing spot for him, and I do think he would win there. Now, do I really think that's where he's going to go? Probably not. But I think there's a lot of potential there, and he kind of strikes me as a Chicago-style mentality. But you never know on that one. The second one would be Carolina. Now, this one's highly unlikely, but given Carolina, I would take a run to try to get DeAndre, because they gave up DJ Moore, so they could really use a number one wide receiver for Bryce Young. And I think with him being there, it would give him a bit of an offensive edge to him, and maybe not have them still be kind of running middle pack or bottom of the barrel in their division. Because I don't think they're going to be great this year. But with Bryce, I think they'll be doing better long term once he gets settled and they start getting some weapons around him. But if they could go get DeAndre, I think that would be a good security blanket for him over the long term. Or at least the middle term anyway. And then the last one, this is the one I would say is kind of a redemption. Highly unlikely, because I don't remember if he had any issues with the owner, but I know for a fact he had severe issues with Bill O'Brien. But my last one would be saying maybe he makes a return to the Houston Texans, because they seem to be going on the right track, and they seem to be doing more right things than they have in the past. And I have a lot of respect for DeMeco Ryan. I think he'll actually be a really good, fair coach across the board. I think him and Hopkins would get along pretty well. And given they got a new quarterback as well, that would give them a pretty good number one receiver back again as well. It's just all going to come down to what he feels about the owner. But I think if he went back to Houston, he'd be able to have a little bit of redemption to show Bill O'Brien that they really screwed up in this. But you never know. But ultimately, that's my picks. I would say Ravens at 1. Then I would say the Chiefs at 2, Eagles at 3, and then the surprise picks being Chicago and Carolina, then Houston. But I don't think he'll go with the surprise ones, but I do think that it would be an interesting fit for him, and he would still get to be kind of a number one wideout. The other positions, the only areas I really see him kind of being the number one is the Ravens and the Chiefs. But he's got to be willing to take a pay cut for it. And I don't know if he's willing to take a pay cut. But those are my guesses. If anyone's got any other guesses where you think he'd be a good fit, feel free to comment. I'll try to reply back and what I think on it. And hope everyone has a wonderful day. Later.